Chris Gore crying over a race swap Betty Boop. Let's get into this. I hate this.
Quinta
intro.
Brunson to develop and star in Betty Boop. This is very unusual because Betty Boop is coming into the public domain.
I think she's already in the public domain. I'd have to double check, but I think it was January. Let me double check. I think it was earlier this year, but I could be wrong. No, January. It was January 1st. Yeah, she came into public domain in January 1st, so she's already in public domain.
A film producer, indie film producer, friend of mine, won't say who. He's looking for scripts for a Betty Boop inspired horror movie because Betty Boop is coming into the public domain. So this is very weird.
Why is it weird for a Betty Boop story featuring a black Betty Boop? Why is that weird? But a Betty Boop horror movie is okay. I wonder what the difference is. Is it a red flag, everybody? Could it be a red flag? Why would you care about a Betty Boop adaptation that has a black woman in it? Why would that be a problem? But an adaptation with like a serial killer Betty Boop or a Betty Boop inspired murderer, why would that be okay? That one's absolutely fine. But a black Betty Boop is a step too far. Is that a red flag? I think that might be a red flag. Let me know, chat, if it's a red flag.
Quinta Brunson to develop and star in Betty Boop, a feature film from Fifth Chance Productions and Fleischer Studios.
Okay.
Now it's odd when I've seen pictures of her. She does have the kind of round face, those big eyes. Like she actually does. Maybe if you light her,
that is a red flag. Did he say light her? Did he just say if you light her? And then there was a pause on that? Hold on. I gotta run that back.
He does have the kind of round face, those big eyes. Like she actually does. Maybe if you light her in a certain way, she can pass for Betty Boop.
Oh, she can white pass. Fam, she can pass for a white person if you light her a certain way. Oh my God. How could I not think of that? How did I not think of that? It's just a little bit of extra light. You just brighten it up a little bit and you won't even notice she's black. It'll take the black right off of her. What? That, at first it was a maybe red flag. Now it's absolutely red flag time. Again, I'm going to get a red flag to put right here on my desk. That is a red flag moment. Did he just talk about lightening a black woman's skin? Bro. Ooh. Oh. I need to take a sip of Dr. Pepper on that one. That's crazy. Crazy Joe, good to see you. Who the frack cares who plays Betty Boop? She hasn't been relevant in years. She's a 100-year-old character. She's 100 years old. Whatever they do is a step up from where the character has been. We're talking like 1931. She's almost a 100-year-old character. But here we are.
But I think that people have kind of grown tired of all this. Matt Walsh, who, by the way, Matt Walsh did a video recently.
Who cares what Matt Walsh has to say about this? Like, I don't give a fuck. What? Like, is it really this important that Matt Walsh had to comment on this?
About Star Wars. Did you know that you and I are featured in the video?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay,
I need to do better on these.
So he features you, so now you guys are fans of Matt Walsh. You weren't before, but because you were featured. You were featured in his video. I have to say, if I was featured in a Matt Walsh video in a positive way, I would probably retire from the internet. I'd pack it up. I would pack it up.
The theater reaction.
Yeah, same. I was like tired, exasperated, annoyed. And then Matt Walsh clips us, uses us in his Star Wars video. That's you can look it up on his channel.
No,
but
we won't.
he had a response that I think just take a look at this. Can you read this, Alan? I'll blow it up here.
Yeah. There's only one reason to bring back an iconic piece of Americana, just to race swap it like this. Even a faithful Betty Boop reboot probably wouldn't sell many tickets.
Oh,
a
okay.
race swap Betty Boop has absolutely no chance of success.
Right.
But they do it anyways out of spite. They aren't even trying to make money anymore. It's pure resentment.
Who is they? Who is they? It's her project. That's number one. Number two, he's saying that it probably wouldn't sell many tickets, so who gives a fuck? Number three, Betty Boop hasn't really been in the cultural zeitgeist in a long time. There are people that like Betty Boop, but Betty Boop as a character hasn't really been in the cultural zeitgeist for a long time. So I don't really think many people care too much about that. But let's talk about Betty Boop, shall we? Let's talk about Betty Boop, because I think it's really important. The Betty Boop character, as we know it, the inspiration for Betty Boop, comes from a vaudeville performer named Helen Kane. She was the primary, I guess, foundation, inspiration for Betty Boop. Okay. However, she ended up in court because what she did, what Helen Kane did, is she appropriated all of that from a black woman in Harlem named Baby Esther Jones. Esther Jones performed with this Betty Boop, 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 be doop. This was her act. And Helen, who at that time was in the Bronx, I believe, entertaining a white audience, decided she's just going to take Esther's character and appropriate it and package it for a white audience. That's what she did. And this is not me making something up. It actually went to court. She was taken to court over this and found that she did actually do this. So the character of Betty Boop was actually race swapped in the beginning. The person, Baby Esther, who was doing all of this in the beginning, got race swapped into a white woman who then they used as a actual foundation for the character. So yes, it's people say that Betty Boop was based on a black woman. That's not exactly true. Betty Boop was based on a white woman who based her character on a black woman. So that's the true story behind Betty Boop. That's what happened. You can research it. There's a lot of information out there. That's pretty much the cliff notes of the character. So we're arguing about representation of a white character that was appropriated from a black woman.
Yeah, and this was from Discussing Film, which I may be blocked. Maybe that's why that didn't show up.
Based Discussing Film. Based.
What do you think about this? Look, I actually looked up Betty Boop cartoons. This is months ago, and was talking to my friend about what would make, because I have friends of mine that are indie filmmakers that make low budget movies. They'll call me up and say, do you know anyone who has a script, a horror script? It takes place in one location at a house on a lake.
So all these guys that care about cinema are begging for any script they can find. You got a script? Can I get one of those scripts, please? Really? So they're begging for scripts because they don't have anyone that can write one for them? They want to do it cheap? That sounds like great filmmaking. That sounds wonderful. I'm glad you support that, Chris. I'm glad that your friends support good films and not just putting slop out there. That sounds wonderful.
Know anyone? And I don't know. So my buddy was asking me, for a horror script that could be like a Betty Boop movie. We've had Popeye the Slayer Man.
And you're okay with all of that, but a black Betty Boop is a step too far. All right.
An award this winning movie. I really don't care about Betty Boop. I think Quentin Brunson kind of.
Well, you cared enough to pull up a Matt Walsh tweet and spread propaganda about it. I mean, you cared enough to do that, right? I mean, that seems like you at least took the time to put it all together for this segment. You even wrote it down in the banner there. You cared about it some.
Looks like her, but audiences, I think, are immediately turned off knowing it's a race swap. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Well, I mean, the audience should probably understand the history behind the character, but also I don't know any modern day Betty Boop fans personally. So I don't know. Maybe it's probably going to be a low budget movie. I don't think it's really a big deal, to be honest.
Yeah. I mentioned on X that, the comment I made was because of course we have to do this. We've got to.
Who is we? Who is we? You're taking a passion project from somebody who's using a public domain character, and you're trying to make it into some sort of like industry DEI thing. It's literally she is developing and starring in the movie herself. This isn't backed by a major studio. It's not some top-down industry guys going, we need to make a Black Betty Boop movie. It's none of the things that you typically would complain about. So now a black woman, I just need you guys to understand. I'm going to make it real simple for you. Now a black woman cannot write and star in her own public domain story about Betty Boop without it being some sort of insidious agenda. That's where we're at with these guys. So this is the same as like Lupita in the Odyssey or any other black person that is cast for something. It's just some sort of like push from some evil forces out there. It can't just be that she wants to do this because she's passionate about the character and it's now public domain. That can't be the reason. There has to be some we and they and these kinds of things.
This is not a surprise. This was going to happen. So I decided, because I was getting pushback on my comments, I decided to do a little bit of research. Betty Boop was inspired by white Broadway star Helen Kane,
vaudeville star Helen Kane, who stole the character from a black woman,
who culturally appropriated the character from black jazz singer Baby Esther. Mm-hmm. So it's a white woman who stole the act of Baby Esther. In fact,
that's really interesting. I want to see how you spin this. She was actually found guilty of this. So where are we going from here? I really hope. I don't have high hopes, but I really hope they acknowledge how ridiculous this complaint is based on the history of the character.
In fact, she was sued for it by Baby Esther for stealing her act and making it. Which makes me think, well, so when Amos and Andy came out on the radio, portrayed by
because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, I cannot show you guys Amos and Andy, but I need you to understand it's minstrel shit. And I don't like the direction of this particular deflection here. I have a feeling I'm going to probably get triggered by it. So give me a second. Let me back this up. I want you guys to understand this pivot is probably going to be pretty bad. Trying to excuse a white woman stealing a black woman's art and putting it off as her own by using blackface as an excuse. Let's see where he goes from here.
Baby Esther for stealing her act and making it. Which makes me think, well, so when Amos and Andy came out on the radio, portrayed by two white men, but when the TV series came out, they swapped it to black men as appropriate. So therefore, it's okay now.
Okay. Did he just try to compare the correcting of blackface by actually giving the roles to black men because you had 2 white men participating in blackface, stealing and appropriating black culture to make fools of themselves on the radio as white men doing blackface? Did he just say that that is the same thing as a white woman stealing a black woman's art form? And that somehow makes it the same? That that's okay? Did I hear that right? I don't know, fam. This man just said that having black men actually portray black characters that were being portrayed by white men making fun of black people, to him, lines up with this Betty Boop situation. I need to run it back. I need to run it back one more time. I have to hear this because I cannot believe that we went this route.
By baby Esther for stealing her act and making it. Which makes me think, well, so when Amos and Andy came out on the radio, portrayed by 2 white men, but when the TV series came out, they swapped it to black men as appropriate. So therefore, it's okay now. You know, it's like people didn't accept Amos and Andy, by finally casting them as black men. I don't think that, the logic just doesn't play here.
I think you stepped into a logical or illogical landmine just now, and you realized it. You realized it real quick, and then you couldn't course correct. So now bro is saying that when you actually correct racism and people don't accept it, which is what was happening with Amos and Andy, when you correct racism and people don't accept it, then that's just okay. It's just cool. That we're supposed to be good with that. That we're just good. We're good with the idea that we should allow racist behavior to continue as long as the public accepts it. As long as the public is willing to accept racist white people and racist behavior, as long as that's okay with the general public, then we don't need to correct any of that. So because some people accept racism, we should not try and change racist behavior.
And then to your point, who cares? Am I going to spend money on this? Do people these days remember Betty Boop? Who is she? Can you tell me who she is?
Well,
Can you tell me what made her famous? I'm not talking you specifically, but I'm talking about people under 40.
So we're simultaneously, according to these guys, we will have a public that will actively reject this premise because of how iconic Betty Boop is. But also, no one now knows who Betty Boop is, so no one cares about it. I feel so dumb sitting through so many of these videos. Every time I sit down during a day and I go through some of these videos to sort of preview them or whatever, I feel like it's a virus and it's infecting my fucking brain. Why is it that it's a problem to change a character if no one cares about the character, if the average person doesn't care about it? But it's also a problem because it's a pushback against racist acceptance of an iconic character. So iconic, how dare we race change Betty Boop? How dare we do that? But no one cares either.
Right.
What was the attraction for you?
Speaking of Amos and Andy, I used to watch that when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I thought,
Bro, we cannot be going back to that. We cannot be. Chris Gore cannot be going back to Amos and Andy. It's just not. That's not where we are, right? It's not. We shouldn't be doing it, right? We shouldn't entertain it. Maybe in 2026, maybe we should, but I don't know. Maybe he thinks we should. Maybe he thinks we should. Let's see what he has to say. He used to watch it when he was little. If he says that he liked the radio show better, I'm done. I'm done.
It was really funny. It was just two guys trying to come up with some way to make money, always pulling some. Kingfish was the whole thing. They should do an Amos and Andy reboot.
Throw it in the trash. Throw it all in the fucking trash. All of it. Film threat, everything. The fucking trash can. The whole channel. Just toss it into the fucking trash can. I never want to listen. I mean, I probably will. I'm not going to say I won't do it. But I never want to listen to them again. I never want to hear anything from them again. That's crazy. Legitimately crazy. Like as cartoonly crazy as possible. I feel like I've lost my mind. Bro said we should bring Amos and Andy back.